Now that we've cleared the area, let's do a really fun maneuver, and that's steep turns. Now, the reason you do steep turns is that you'll not only get good at maintaining your altitude in tight turns, but you'll also become much more aware of what's involved in making any turn smoother and more comfortable for your passengers. Now, for these purposes, we'll consider a steep turn a 45-degree bank. Now, of course, in a 90-degree bank, the wings would be vertical. So in a 45-degree bank, the wings will be halfway between vertical and horizontal. Now, we'll do this in a 45-degree bank, and we'll do it at about 95 knots. So let me make sure my speed's around 95 knots. And it takes just a little over 2,100 RPM at this altitude to do that. And let me clear the area real quickly here to the left, and we're clear to the left. Now, we'll start this turn just like you do any other turn. We'll roll into the bank smoothly, and we'll pick a reference point out there in front of us. And by the way, keep that reference point in mind, because we're going to use that same reference point when we roll out of the turn. Now, as usual, we'll use coordinated rudder and aileron to make sure the airplane rolls around the longitudinal axis. And then as the bank is established, the turn will begin. And as you establish that turn, you have to increase elevator back pressure. And through about 30 degrees of bank, you have to add a lot more. And at 45 degrees bank, it takes quite a bit of elevator back pressure. Use whatever back pressure is necessary to keep the nose on the horizon so that it doesn't drop down. You can see that you did the right amount of back pressure by glancing down at the attitude indicator and the altimeter. And also, you can glance down at the attitude indicator and check for your 45 degrees bank. Now, if you are not at the proper attitude, just make minor adjustments as is necessary and sneak a glance back in every now and then. But you primarily use the outside reference to make this turn. Now that you've got the back pressure in, you can feel the airplane slowing down just a little bit because you've added drag, so you might add a little more power, say 300 RPM. And you don't want to trim off this back pressure because you won't need it for long, and you're going to have to release that back pressure when you roll out of the turn. And you want to do this entire turn with outside visual references with just a glance inside every now and then to make sure that everything is working out okay. Now, another thing you need to remember is that in a Skyhawk, you have side-by-side seating. And that means in a left turn, you're sitting on the left-hand side, so the nose will appear to be above you. In a right turn, the nose would appear to be below you. So what you need to do is get used to the view out the window in turns in each direction. And as you gain experience at it, it's going to become automatic. Now, if your altitude gets a little bit too high and you want to lose a little altitude, all you have to do is just relax a little bit of that back pressure. Now, don't relax too much. A little bit can make a big difference. When you get your altitude, come back in with that back pressure, and you've got your altitude squared away again. Now, if you get a little bit too low and you need to add some additional back pressure, that can be hard to do when you already have a lot of back pressure in. So here's a trick of the trade that can really help you. Just roll out a few degrees of bank, and then you don't have to hold as much back pressure, and the nose will come up easier, and you can get back to your altitude. And then when you get back to your altitude, roll back into those few degrees of bank. Now, you're only allowed 5 degrees on this maneuver because the training maneuver has a tolerance of plus or minus 5 degrees. But 5 degrees can help a lot. Now, while you're doing this, just keep remembering to look outside because you want to keep track of where you are in your turn and what's going on outside. Now, usually you make a 360-degree turn, but sometimes you go around twice and make it a 720-degree turn. In this case, I'm making it a 720-degree turn. So when I see my reference point coming up, I'll get ready to roll out. Now, most people like to start that rollout about 20 degrees ahead of the reference point. Now, you can do it two ways. You can sneak a glance inside and look at your heading indicator, or you can just keep track of where your reference point is and kind of estimate that 20 degrees. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to estimate the 20 degrees. So here it comes, and now I'm going to start my rollout. You feel a little bump? That means we've been here before. Make sure you release your back pressure when you roll out of the turn, and now you've got yourself on the new heading, and you've made a steep turn. Now let's do one to the right. Okay, we're clear to the right. So we'll do a smooth, coordinated roll in. Increase the back pressure. Increase the back pressure a lot more. Gonna add a little power. Now that looks like a 45-degree bank right there. The attitude indicator kind of indicates we hit it pretty well too. Now notice this time the nose looks lower, and that's because we're turning to the right and I'm sitting in the left seat. Now we're coming up on my reference point pretty close, so I'll begin to roll out, release my back pressure at the same time, reduce the power a little, and we've just done a turn to the right, and there's our bump. We've been here before. Now I'd like to do one more steep turn. Let's do this one to the left, so I'll clear the area here. Okay, we're clear. Now I've got my reference point. I'll roll about the longitudinal axis. Add back pressure as the bank increases here. Keep the nose at the same pitch attitude. Add a little power. Now that I'm in this steep turn, let's talk about what can go wrong when you do steep turns. Well, what can go wrong is you let the nose drop and pick up speed. If at the same time you let the bank angle increase, you could overstress the airframe. The solution, just roll out of the bank and pull off the power and slowly pull the nose back up. And we're back under control without overstressing the airframe. Now, as you can see, steep turns are a little harder to do, and they do take some concentration. But when you get good at them, they're just another tool that you can use to control the aircraft. And doing them well is just another way to show that you're the obvious master of the aircraft.